What are you guys doing here still? The build's over already. I mean, you saw me buttoning it up and like putting the final plane on. Is there any reason you guys are still here? Like, I don't owe you anything. Actually, no, I do owe you something. Alright, so today, as we have finished, well, you're seeing this for the first time because we just got the TPU prints done. So we got the GoPro mount, we got the feet done, or arm skids, whatever you want to call those. We got that done. We got the antenna holders, which really was something that we were missing for the longest time, but we finally got it done, and it's all tip-top shape. It's like perfect. And there's something that I really wanted to do with quads, and that is always to get WTFOS. Like, ever since I found out about it, like maybe like 6 or 7 months ago, I've always wanted to do it, but I really didn't want to go through the hassle of, like, you know, rooting the goggles, hoping that nothing goes wrong, hoping that the goggles didn't brick, or like the Vista doesn't brick, or it gets destroyed, etc., etc. But now that I've seen the process, it looks like a much more simplistic process. There's less bugs. There's still the common bugs like the firmware incompatibilities and stuff, but we have DJI to thank for that, obviously. But now it's a very simplistic and straightforward way, so I'm gonna be doing that today. Now, I went through several hours of trial and error of doing it on this on the Source 1 that we just built. So this one's already has WTFOS on it, so we won't be doing that on this. But I thought that since I'm doing WTFOS on all my quads, we will get some Nasco love today, because the Nasco hasn't seen this channel in like a month or 2 months now. Ever since I replaced the ESC, nothing else has broken or failed. So this hasn't seen any love on this channel because it hasn't been in need of repairs, honestly. So today we're going to be installing WTFOS on this Vista, and I'm also going to take you through the steps of rooting and installing WTFOS on your goggles V2. I'm making this a video as I've seen a lot of like tutorials on how to install this, but they're like so like 7-8 months ago that right now it's a much more simplistic process, and I kind of want to just simplify the process in one video for you guys. So that's what we're going to be doing today with the Nasco. Okay, so let's run through some of the things that you will need to do in order to make WTFOS happen on your quad and your goggles. First, you're going to need a LiPo, preferably fully charged, as sometimes the process can take a little long. So you do want like a fully charged LiPo. And honestly, hey, if you don't end up using the full capacity of this LiPo that you fully charged right now, just at the end of it, just go out and fly, right? That's how we discharge packs. We don't put it back into the charger. It's such a waste of electricity and time, so we just go fly it. Next up, you're going to need your USB cables. So any cables that have the Type-C cables, that's perfect. It can be USB, or it can be Type-C to Type-C. It doesn't matter. As long as you have connection to from your computer to your quad, you are fine. And last but not least, what other things you're going to need is your goggle battery. So if you're using the black DJI OEM battery, then you're going to need that. Or if you're using a LiPo, you can pretty much use the same LiPo then. And sorry, last but not least, I forgot to add one specific crucial component you're going to need today. You're going to need some kind of cold air blower. So whether you have a PC fan, you have an actual dedicated fan, or you're just using a hairdryer that has a cold air like function, you're going to need that. I'm going to be using a hairdryer. Like, everyone has a hairdryer, come on. So we're going to be using a hairdryer because as we go through the update process, it's going to take quite some time. So we're going to have cold air from this hairdryer just blowing on the actual Vista or Runcam Link, whatever you want to call it, because these things do tend to heat up when there's no airflow around them. So make sure you do have a cold air, like something that blows cold air onto your Vista. I don't care if it's a giant, massive, like swivel fan, you're gonna need it. Okay, lock that fan in place. You're gonna need that. All right, so that is the last thing that you're gonna need today. Let's get flashing. Okay, so first things first, we need to understand which firmwares are compatible with what, and we need to get that straight, because I went through the painstaking process of figuring out with this firmware it didn't work with this and that, and it was a hassle. Okay, imagine this: you come home after a long day of work, Starting around 7 o'clock, you sit down, you try to understand what WTFOS is all about, and it takes you until 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. to actually figure it out and how to actually get it working. Oh my god. I'm going to tell you, the amount of time it took me to flash WTFOS to this and make it work, it was god painstakingly horrible. Like, I'll put up some of the screenshots of like what actually happened. There was like a split screen, and Betaflight OSD wasn't even showing. So yeah, I went through my trials and tribulations with this quad. So it should go much simpler with the Nasco. Okay, so we're gonna get started. As I say, first steps first, we're gonna have to check which firmware our Vista Air Unit, Link, whichever one. I'm just gonna call it Vista for going forward, as it's kind of daunting to keep repeating all three names. But whichever one you have, this one's the Runcam Link specifically. And basically, in summary, the firmware that you are supposed to be using when you are flashing WTFS is 0606. That specific firmware won't work for these Runcam Links. They will need to be updated to the latest, which is 0608, which is the firmware just before the newer version of the 03. So we're gonna check with the DJI Assistant 2 software to see what firmware we are currently on. But there is a problem. I'm gonna highly stress this because I didn't figure this out until maybe 9 p.m. and like 2-3 hours deep into actually figuring out how to install WTFOS. So I'm trying to save you guys some time. In order to do that, we're gonna plug this USB cable into the computer and into the quad. And then we're gonna try and figure out which version we're on. Alright, so as soon as you plug in the battery and the Type-C cable into the quad, you will go to your DJI Assistant 2, which is right here. And right here is our FPV Air Unit. You're gonna click that. So what you see on the screen right here is 0101, which is the very newest firmware. Do not install this because I think this installs it so that your DJI goggles 2, yep, as it says here, can work with this. So just click cancel. Don't install this at all. So cancel. So right now it does show that I am on 0608 with this Runcam Link in this in my Nasco. So that's perfect. We're gonna stay here. But if you were on an older firmware on these Runcam Links, you're gonna need to install 0608, and that's simply the same thing like going to here and pressing upgrade, and it'll download and patch it for you so that you're on the newer version. So since we're already on 0608, we're gonna move on to the next step, which is actually rooting and installing WTFOS. Alright, so from here, I think I'm gonna start plugging in the fan, so you're not gonna get any audio. So I will see you in a bit. Okay, so that was the Runcam Links install. It was very simple. Again, I'm making it very simplified for you guys. It's took me very long hours to figure out how to do this. So that was the Runcam Link Vista's WTFOS install. So now next up, we're gonna do the same process. We're gonna move on to the goggles and root them and install WTFOS. Okay, let's go. All right, so here we go. We got the goggles, we got the power cable and the actual battery that we're gonna be using. Now, if you're using a LiPo, you can use the LiPo, but I don't have the LiPo to XT60 connection, so I'm going to use the DJI OEM battery. Okay, so let's get down that the firmware versions on your goggles can be either 0606, which is highly recommended. That's like the root, the base requirements for these WTFOS installs, 0606. That's the firmware version. All right, so what you're going to want to do here is, of course, plug it in. So there's a Type-C connection on this side of the goggles, so you're going to plug that in. Okay, and just rest it like that. Make sure the cable is not being suffocated or anything. And now you're going to want to turn it on. Okay, so what we can tell is my goggles are currently on 0606, so we're perfect. I can root from there. But if you guys are on any higher versions like 0608, 1.0, etc., whatever versions aside from 0606, you guys can actually use WTFOS Butter. And if you don't know what that is, that's basically a service from the same people who made WTFOS. It allows you to downgrade your versions without using the DJI Assistant. And believe me, if you can get away without using DJI Assistant to downgrade and upgrade your stuff, it's butter. Pun intended. Because it's much more smoother and it's much more quicker than what the DJI Assistant requires. If your goggles are a newer firmware, so use this WTFOS Butter. And in here, it will actually give you the list of firmwares that you need to install in order to run WTFOS. So you have the goggles V1, which by today's standards, if you have a V1, wow, you're OG. That's like the first gen goggles. So you can, they have a separate package here for it. We have goggles V2 as well. Also, you can do your Runcam Link Vistas and Caddx Vistas, etc. It's all here. You would just click here, extract the package, install the drivers that come with it, restart your computer, and then run the executable file inside there. It will take a couple of minutes, but it will downgrade your goggles and everything will be perfect. Okay, so now that we already are on 0606 with these goggles, we should be okay. We're fine to move to the next step, which is the WTFOS configurator. Alright, so we're gonna, on the WTFOS configurator, we're gonna do the same steps. We're gonna go root device, click on the serial port that you want to connect to, connect, and it's gonna work its magic. We're just gonna wait. Okay, so now that it says it's all done, your device has been successfully rooted, we're perfect to go. So we can go back to the drop down menu, go back to home. At this point, it will try and reconnect to your, or restart itself. Just let it do it until it says successfully connect to your device. Don't move on. You can go to WTFOS, install, and now waiting again. Okay, now that that's finished, it's going to restart itself. You can hear when the fans just turn on, turn off, and you know it's installing. So we can go back to the home menu, and here it will reconnect itself, or you can connect that, or you can click on connect to device, and it's going to be named Pigeon. All goggles will be named Pigeon. I don't know why, it's just named Pigeon. Okay, so you're going to click connect. It's going to successfully connect. That's good. You're going to go to Package Manager. You're going to go to Package Manager, and it's just going to fetch packages. So with the Vista, all you saw were 2 packages, which is kind of limited, but with the goggles, you can actually do a lot more. So if you don't already have the auto recording from the OG from the stock system, then you can install it here. Basically, whenever you arm and you take off, it will start recording automatically, which the original DJI goggles already do. So I'm not going to install that. There's a lot of other mods or packages, would you want to call it, that offers a lot of benefits. So if you guys want to delve into what each of them do, let me know. I'll figure out what they do, and then I'll make a video about it. But for now, we're gonna install only the two that we really need, and that is, of course, the 1200 milliwatt hack. Alright, so we're gonna install that. It's done. We are also going to need the MSP OSD, which is really important. That allows you to have Betaflight OSD, basically. So install this, and that's that. We can unplug and move on to setting up the OSD inside Betaflight. Alright, so grabbing your quad back, you're going to take your USB cable. You don't need a LiPo to be plugged in at this step, as we're not trying to power on the Vista or anything. You're going to plug your Type-C into the flight controller this time, not the Vista, so that you can connect to Betaflight. So once it's connected, you're going to see COM6, Betaflight, whatever. As usual, you're going to hit connect. And before you do anything, you're going to need to figure out something first. So you go to ports, right? And whichever one that you have MSP enabled, or you're going to note it down that your whichever number it is. For me, it's 1. So we're just going to pop up a 1 right here and just keep that on this side of the screen. So that's useful to have. After that, you're going to want to go into the CLI tab. Here in the CLI, you're going to type in get MSP, so that you can see all the values of what the MSP is. We're going to do set space OSD underscore display port underscore device. Let's spell device right. Space equals MSP, right? And you're going to click enter. It's going to set the display port to MSP only, so this will allow you to have the Betaflight OSD. Next, you're going to do set display port underscore MSP underscore serial equals. So here's where that number that you stored right here comes in. So mine is 1. You're going to do 1 minus 1. You're going to do your number, so you're going to do your number minus 1. And so mine is 1, so 1 minus 1 is 0. So you're going to enter 0 right here and click enter. Last step, you're going to set your video system to PAL, because without this, your Betaflight OSD will not work. So you can do it from here as well. Set VCD underscore video underscore system equals PAL. There you go, and click enter. Don't forget to write save here and click enter, otherwise it will not apply any of these changes here. So save and let it restart. Perfect. Now we can connect back to it, and we can go to the OSD tab. In the OSD tab, you'll see that, oh wow, things actually show up now. Well, they always showed up now, but now they will actually show up in your goggles. So we can rearrange the things and make it look nice. So we're gonna be running one of the things I really wanted to fly with is link quality, so that's good. Which one is this? Okay, so link quality we'll put in, let's put there, and RSI DBM, which is this. So these two I always really wanted to fly with. We're also going to turn on warnings so that we actually have stuff. So turn on the warnings there, and link quality. So this will warn us when things are really poor. So like when I lose connection or something, it'll actually show a warning and saying you're losing connection, right? So that's good, and that's perfect. Hit save, and you're well on your way to using WTFOS and the full Betaflight OSDs. Okay, so now we'll actually check if the OSD has properly been installed. Alright, so we got the goggles, we got the quad. We're gonna power on the goggles. There you go. Okay, so the goggles are now on. We're gonna take a LiPo and plug it into the back of the quad. So where did that LiPo go? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna set you guys down here. Alright, so we're just gonna plug that in. Just gonna let it sit there. We're not gonna leave it on for too long, otherwise the Vista is gonna overheat. If you guys are gonna do this for a long time, make sure you got your fan on. So turn it on and blow. Okay, so but aside from that, we're gonna go back to the screen here. And yes, we got the Betaflight OSD in. So you see all of the stuff there. Of course, you're gonna go in and turn off the OSD, so then you don't the DJI OSD, so you don't have to have the overlay of things. But now you actually have all the stuff with Betaflight OSD, which is really important. That's what you guys need to make sure you guys don't fail safe with your controller or other stuff. If you have a GPS, now you guys can actually see the coordinates and all that good stuff. So that is the video of installing WTFOS on a Runcam Link, again, or on a Caddx Vista. I might be doing a Caddx Vista on my ProTech, as I do still need to root the ProTech, but again, that needs to be repaired as well. So I'm going to be for sure putting WTFOS on that. Again, build series might be coming for the ProTech. You never know, right? So we're gonna. Those are some future plans, but for today we finished installing WTFOS on the Runcam Link and the Goggles V2. So now we don't have to do it, right? So I'm gonna leave you there. If you guys will be so generous enough to hit that subscribe button if this really helped you, and hit the like button if you're having a good day, because everyone needs to have a good day. Especially today is Saturday. I'm gonna go flying, so I'm having a good day so far. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, do your YouTube things as you usually would for any other channel, and that's it. I'm out. So until then, just fly.